All right, hello, welcome to today's lesson on inheritance. And what we're going to do is we're going to create like bank accounts. So you have to imagine an account that has your name and the amount that's in there and all that stuff. So we're going to do that and then make some subclasses and superclasses and all that stuff. So eventually you might have something that looks like this, right? You might want to make a little package today in your editor and set it up this way. The only difference is you won't really need this interest account, but you probably have the bank account file. You're going to program the bonus account one, and then the runner is just to kind of test the code to make sure that it's working okay, right? And I'm going to do interest account with you here in this video. Okay, so my first thing is to what would the hierarchy be? Like, how do these classes fit together? So I guess I could describe them a little bit more. The runner is just making the bank accounts and testing purposes. Bank account is just represent a bank account that has like a owner and some money in it or whatever. Bonus account has like some special features where it pays like a bonus amount randomly. I actually heard a story about bank accounts that paid random interest amount. So you're gonna have a bonus account that has like an extra feature, and then the interest account just has some extra features too that like it has an interest amount and you get paid interest. So bank account's more general, but interest account has those specific information about an interest rate. So my first question would be to sketch out the hierarchy. So take a piece of paper and draw what do you think the relationship would be between these four different files. Okay, and so what it should look like is bank account would be the super class, parent class, because it's the more general one, and then interest account and bonus account would be specific types of bank accounts with like extra features. Like this one has interest, this one has will have kind of couple extra things. It'll pay random bonus amounts, and then also it'll have a bunch of owners. Okay, so related to this hierarchy, I have 5 questions here. All right. And so we got to start to think about like what data and methods we'd want in these accounts and where we would put them. All right. Sorry, I should have said bank account runner is just off on the side. It's not really part of the hierarchy. It just has the main method that is going to allow us to test to make different bank accounts or interest accounts and just to see how they work. So pause the video and try these other 5 questions before continuing. Okay, so the account name, all of these bank accounts would have an account name variable, so that should be up in bank account, right? Because we want it everywhere, so if you put it here, it'll flow down to the other two, right? All of these would have an account name. All right, where would you put the interest rate? So that's going to apply only to the interest account. Hopefully that made sense. Again, you could structure this kind of different or interpret it differently, but the way I tried to set it up is the interest rate would be part of interest account. One specialized method you might have in this account would be like pay interest, right? Because the other accounts don't necessarily have interest rates. So this one would have a special one like pay interest. All right. And then the deposit amount. So all the accounts you'd want to be able to like add and remove money from. So you'd want a deposit amount up in bank account. And again, there'd be different ways you could structure this, but generally I think it would make sense here because every account you'd want to deposit. And then where you would make your instances, that would be in the runner. So sorry, I can't fit it all there, but this is where you'd make your instances, right? Is where you would make the different little objects from these different class files. Okay, so before we dive too much into the coding, I just want to show you, I think that it's really helpful to try to keep track of like where the data and the methods are. Otherwise, I think it gets kind of confusing. So bank account is already set up for you. You don't have to do any coding. And just to give you a high level view of what's in there, we have a variable representing the account name like savings or college savings or car fund or something like that. And then the amount of money that's in there. There's a constructor that takes in the name, whatever you want to give it, and sets this account name variable. The amount I'm assuming starts off as 0 in the constructor because when you make a new account, it has no money. Then there's a deposit and withdraw, so you can take money in and out. passing in the amount you want to put in or take out. There's a get balance that just returns how much balance there is there. There's a set balance if you just want to completely set it to a new amount. And then you can also get the account name, which just returns the string account name. Okay, and so we're gonna, in this video, you're gonna do bonus account, and I'm gonna start by kind of doing interest account with you and sketching it out, right? So we're gonna do this interest account in the video, and then you'll do bonus account on your own. Please note that all of this stuff flows down, right? So we're gonna make bank account be the parent class, so all this stuff's gonna flow down with the exception of the constructor. The constructors don't necessarily flow down, so we kind of have to recreate them down here if we would like to have those same constructors. Okay, so I'm going to start with interest account. All right, and right now it's a blank class, right? It's just in the same package. So I've got all my files kind of here in the same package, which is generally how I'd recommend setting it up for you. But the first thing I want to do is actually make it a subclass of bank account, right? So the first thing we got to do is think about how the heck do I even make this a subclass? So pause the video here and see if you can figure it out. Okay, and the answer is you just have to do extends. So I want to extend, and you can extend pretty much any class in Java, and I'm going to extend bank account so that this is a specific type of bank account. Okay, and I'm going to start with like the data then, or the instance variables. Okay, and I want to try to think about what's going to be different, right? I've already got an account name and an amount because those flow down from bank account. In fact, I think I should probably be able to do that if I do super. Actually, that's not true though, because they might be private variables. But normally you could access them through that super keyword. If I save this, maybe. All right, well, never mind. The dot completion is not working. But at any rate, I have access to them because I've extended the bank account. All right, so which one do I need? Like, what's probably a new one I need here? Okay, and so I'm going to make, yeah, they are private. These ones are private. But I can still access them through these get and set methods, so it should be okay. But I'm going to do one more variable, double, called the interest rate. Okay, so I'm going to track the interest rate in this account, right? That'll be one new variable. Okay, and then we could also do like get and set methods for this. Like we could do get interest probably, and then like a set interest. That probably makes sense to put down here. Okay, and then I would also probably want to set this in my constructor. All right, so I'll show you kind of the setup for this. So I'll do private double interest rate. Okay, that's going to be my new thing, and then I'm going to make my constructor. Okay, so I'm going to do public interest rate, now interest account. Okay, and I want to set all my instance variables, right? So if I look up in bank account, the amount gets set to 0 in this constructor, and then the name gets set to the name in, right? So I'm going to do a very similar thing where I'm going to take in a name down here. Right, and then I'm also going to take in an interest rate. So I'm going to do a double interest rate coming in. Okay, and so I'm going to set the interest rate, the instance variable, to be whatever they want to send in. So when we create an interest account, we'll specify the interest rate, a double amount as a decimal probably. And then I want to use this this constructor up here in my parent class. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is super and then pass this in. Okay, so I'm going to do super and then the name in, and it'll just send it on up one level higher. Okay, so we'll send it on up here to bank account. It'll set this account name variable. Even though it's private, I can set it through my methods, right? And the amount variable will get set to 0. So in that case, my interest account has 3 variables: account name, amount, and interest rate. And they'll all be set now in this constructor. please note that, you know, if you have to put that super line first, you can't, like if you want to call super, you have to do it the very first thing in the constructor. It won't let you do anything else before it. So that is why I put that first there, make it work right. Okay, and then I'm going to do real quick my get and set methods for the interest rate. So I'm going to do public void set interest double interest in, and I'm just going to set it so they can change the interest rate later, which definitely happens. I've had bank accounts where they change the interest rate on me, kind of frustrating. Public double get interest. All right, and that's going to return the interest rate. So again, since the variable is private here, I'm going to give access to it through a get and set method. Okay, and then the last thing I'm going to do here that's going to be a little bit different is I'm going to make a method, a void method called pay interest. Okay, and what I want to do there, all right, to pay the interest is I want to multiply the amount that's in the account by the interest rate. So if I have like 1% interest, I'll take the amount times the interest rate. Okay, and so the tricky part about this is like, how do you get access to this, right? So I'll kind of start to type it out and flip back and forth and sort of explain it a little bit that way. So I know I have the interest rate here, right? So let me do the heading first. So I'm going to do public void pay interest, right? So I'm going to pay it to my account, right? So I want to calculate the interest that I get paid here, and I want to take the interest rate, okay, which is just this variable right here, right? That's accessible in here, but I want to multiply it by the amount in the account, okay? And so the problem with this is if I look at bank account, I have an amount variable, but it's private, right? So even if I tried to call like super dot amount, right, that's not going to work. Okay, so I got to figure out how do I get access to it, right? Here's my picture again. The amount's up here, so how do I get access to it? So I'm gonna pause the video here and see if you can figure that out. Okay, and so basically you're going to do get balance. That's the point of get balance, is this is a private variable, but it's a public method that returns that amount, right? So if I look up here in bank account at get balance, it just returns that amount. Okay, so down here in interest account, since I can't do the amount this way, I could call super, but you could just call get balance too. It'll know. If you just put get balance like that, it'll know to call that method, because that method again flows down and is actually part of this, even though we can't see it. But I'm going to type super just as a reminder that that method is up there in the super class. All right, so now this is sort of critical too, is now I want to actually put the interest into my account. Okay, so I have to change the amount, right? Again, this amount variable up here, I have to change it to include the new interest, right? Because I multiplied the interest rate by the balance, but now I have to put it into the account. So I'm going to go back here and think, how can I do that again? Right? I don't have direct access to this amount, so what can I do? All right, and so the answer here is I can call this deposit method. It just deposits money into there, and if I look at it, how deposit works, it'll just add it to the amount, which is exactly what I want to do. I want to add that interest. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to call super dot deposit, and I'm going to deposit the interest. Okay, so I'm going to calculate it and then deposit, right? And I think that's the hardest part of this chapter, is understanding the relationship between like the subclass and the superclass, right? So here I'm modifying this amount variable by using the deposit and the get balance methods, right? The variable itself is private, but the methods are public, so that's how I interact with it. All right, and that's pretty tricky. Okay, thanks for watching.